Hey guys, so for today's video we're going to be talking about bike maintenance, specifically changing a flat tire. So a couple of things I want to go over real quick before we get started is it's important to be really safe when you're doing things like this, so make sure you have the proper tools. I would always recommend wearing eye protection, especially for changing a tire. There has been one occasion where I was changing a tire and I went to re-inflate the new inner tube and it exploded at about 60 psi when I was airing it back up. Thankfully nothing went flying or anything, but there was enough pressure there to cause damage if something had been flung far away and had hit me in the face or in the eyes. So I do definitely recommend eye protection, and if you are a teenager or a child, make sure you're working with a parent or a guardian, or have some type of adult supervision of someone that can walk through this with you. So yeah, let's talk about changing a tire. Most bicycles that you're going to buy at department stores like Walmart or Dick's Sporting Goods or something like that are going to have your wheel, your rim with the spokes, and then on the inside is going to be an inner tube and then a tire. What you see is the tire, but on the inside is actually an inflated inner tube that holds the air in the tire. And it looks like this. This is actually the replacement inner tube that we're going to put in this wheel after we find out the problem with it. But there's pros and cons to wheels with inner tubes. If you have an inner tube and you get a flat, typically if you ran over something sharp and it goes through both the tire and the inner tube, at least you can change the inner tube and at least get back home, and maybe at a different time you can get a new tire. But the downside to inner tubes is that it's really easy to pinch them against the rim when you're riding or even when you're fixing them, and they'll tear that way. So they are a little bit susceptible to that. There's pros and cons with everything. So as you can see, I've got this wheel off of a bike. There's a pretty recent puncture here. I don't know what the cause of it was or why it went flat, so we're going to figure that out. But we're going to need some supplies. Like I mentioned, make sure you have eye protection. You'll need a spare inner tube. You'll need a pump. This is just a simple hand pump. You'll need tire levers. They typically come in pairs. You'll definitely want 2 of them, and make sure they're pretty sturdy. There's some pretty cheap tire levers out there that are really flimsy and will break on you, and you don't want that. So I like these. These are pretty thick. They don't break, and that should be all. You really don't need a whole lot to do this, but you just need to know what you're doing. Okay, so first thing is first, we're going to try to get this tire off of the rim. And then we're going to take out the inner tube and inspect it. So to get this started, you want to hold the tire up like this, and you'll pinch the tire, and you'll notice that you can see the inside of the rim, you can see the inner tube there, and then there's the edge of the tire here. So what you're going to do, you'll notice that there's little hooks on this tool right here, and that's actually for grabbing the spokes on the wheel. So I'm going to choose right here because this spoke is close to me. And I'm going to pry that out, kind of like I'm scooping ice cream. I'm scooping ice cream like this, and I'm going to get it started on that hook, on that spoke right there, and I'm going to hold that tire just like that. So then what I'm going to do is I'm going to work my way around. I'm going to get underneath that edge of the tire. Now that I've gotten it started, the tension was lost on that tire lever, but at least I'm able to continue on around. It's actually not necessary to take the entire tire off. You'll notice that I've got the seal completely off on this side, but the tire's actually still on this side, which is preferred. But you'll notice that if I pry this open, you can see the inner tube, right? So I'm going to go where the valve stem is. I'm going to push that valve stem up, just like that, and I'm able to pull out the inner tube. Okay? And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to pull this guy out all the way around. Okay? So there we go. We've got a rim with the tire still on it halfway. And we've got the old inner tube here. And I'm gonna look at it, see if I can find the issue. Oh, there it is. There's the problem right there. So you can see there's a pretty significant hole there. Not sure what caused it. The rubber just looks really weak right there, so it just looks like it finally met its end. And so the air came out and we got a flat tire. Thankfully, that's easily remedied with a new inner tube. So I've got my new inner tube here, okay? And before I get started on trying to put it back on the rim, I put a little bit of air in it already just to make sure that there's no holes already. Inner tubes are pretty delicate, to be honest. They do go bad, and they spring leaks all the time. So I just put some air in here to make sure that the one I'm putting on there is good. Because think about this, if I'm 5 miles away from home, I need to know that this is at least reliable enough to get me back home, right? So this is good. And the nice thing about putting a little bit of air in it beforehand, before putting it back on the rim, is that it keeps this from twisting or bunching in different areas around the tire. So this is where we're going to get into the tough part here. What I'm going to try to do is I'm going to line my tire up. Notice that the hole for my valve stem is right here. So I need the tire, or the inner tube, to be right about there. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to start stuffing this inner tube inside the tire. I'm going to try really hard not to pinch anything. My fingers or the inner tube. Okay. I'm just going to keep working it around. I'm trying to get it up on the rim. Okay. All the way around. And hopefully I'm nice and lined up at the valve stem when I get all the way around here. And I'm pretty close. So you notice that I've got the inner tube inside there, but my valve stem is not quite where it needs to be. So I'm going to try to shift this wheel just enough, and you'll notice that the valve stem is right above the hole. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to stretch this out a little bit and push that valve stem through the hole. If your inner tube is not inflated at all and you try to push that valve stem through the hole in the rim, you could put too much pressure on the inner tube itself and end up tearing it just by trying to push the valve stem in. Okay, so we're pretty close to done, but this is actually one of the most challenging parts. So we've got the rim halfway on, we've got it on one side but off right here, and we've got to get this back inside the rim. We've got our inner tube inside, and we're really close to being able to just keep riding along. Okay, but here's the challenge. When you go to put this tire on, you're going to use this tire lever to pry this tire up into here. But this sharp edge of the tire lever, it is so easy to hit this and pinch the inner tube to the rim, so you don't want to do that, okay? Especially if you don't have a spare with you. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pinch this and make sure that my tire lever is nowhere near the inner tube. And I'm just going to get this started like so. Okay. And I'm going to hold that tire lever just like that. Okay. Now I'm going to work my way around, and I'm going to be really careful and not hit a spot with that inner tube. So far so good, right? I'm going to go down here, I'm going to press in, make sure that tire gets over there like that, and I'm going to push it over. Okay? This whole time I'm holding this tension with this up here. I'm going to go down here, and now the tension's increasing on this tire, so I've got to be extremely careful that I don't bust the inner tube. Okay, still making progress. This is where it gets tougher. I'm able to help it out with my hand just a little bit. All right, we're making lots of progress here. So I've made it all the way around here. I'm still holding this one. So close. And here should be the last one. All right. So there you go. I've got the tire all the way around. And as far as I can tell, there's no pinching on the inner tube. And so now I take my pump, make sure I get that valve stem all the way through the rim. And I'm now going to pump it up. And be careful, you don't want to overinflate the tire. The inner tube in the tire can only take so much stress, so if you're super strong, take it easy a little bit. And, just make sure you have enough air in there to support your weight and get you back home. But there you go, guys. Brand new inner tube in there, same tire. And even if this tire had a hole in it, that inner tube would hold enough air to just get you back home. So there you go. That is how you change a tire. I hope you learned something, and I hope that you see that with the right tools, just about anybody can fix it. All right, if you thought this was a great video, give us a thumbs up. Be sure to subscribe to our channel and stay tuned for more. Take care.